So I'm going to be talking a little bit today about why goodness is such a good thing. So these people in this wonderful picture are the staff of a Alzheimer's and Dementia Day service called Be Our Guest. Elvis does not work with us for obvious reasons, unfortunately. But for 2 hours of my school day, 4 days a week, I spend time with these people and the guests that I've now come to know everyone's name. So a little bit about the program itself is that we're doing daily activities with these guests every day. So most of the time we're just playing games and where we get any type of cognitive stimulation going. So a very common and popular favorite is Bunko, which is a dice game where you're looking for numbers to get points. I get a little too competitive during this, which is a little awkward, but at the same time, we're also playing Jeopardy, any type of word games, anything to kind of keep them remembering the same topic over and over again. 2 or 3 times a week, we have music come in and perform for them. It's nothing really pop culture like Khalid or anything that I can really enjoy, but older country really pleases them, and it's an environment and culture that they all share. So they really enjoy that. And I think one of the most valuable things that's created there every single day is the environment that the guests make themselves. So as you can see, these people are just the most loving group of elderly, I guess you could say, that I've ever met. They are a bunch of different kinds of personalities that come together over something they don't even know that they really have most of the time. And I actually like to say that they've forgotten how to be mean. They're always giving compliments and saying thank you for all these things that these people do for them. And they're just genuinely the most caring group that I've ever met in society, at least. And a really good example of this is when I was actually getting quotes for this talk. One of my favorite, don't tell anybody else that, but one of my favorite guests was saying that his best advice he could give me is that he loves me and that he loves everyone here. And so that just kind of shows you the kind of attitude that they have towards people and towards others, and that little things don't really matter for them. It's just kindness that matters. So back to the actual program, they have larger events that happen maybe like once a month or so. You can see in these pictures we had a petting zoo come in their own backyard, which was really sweet. They got to ride a pony and cart, they got to play with all of the little animals and all of that stuff. But I think what was really cool for me that day was I actually got to interact with their families, which I don't actually meet their families or their caregivers that often. I don't speak to them. So being able to learn more about them was something that was really valuable and important for me, because I only see their daily habits and what they do when they're just sitting in a comfortable environment, and hearing about their past and everything was really amazing. We also had Elvis Remembrance Week, which was something really fun. They got to wear their cool shades and sing along to his music. We even had a cutout for him that got dressed for Halloween and I think is still wearing a wig. But it was, again, that common culture that they got to share together that was really amazing. So we even have like sittercise, which is an hour of exercise in a chair, which is really awesome. I love just sitting and not having to move that much. But again, back to that culture, one of the staff members had even said to me that we make abnormal people feel normal, even if it's just for a couple of hours. And that was probably the most stunning thing that I had heard since I started volunteering there, because I realized how true it was, and I realized that I hadn't noticed that. I hadn't noticed that they were sick and that they couldn't remember things that much. In fact, I used to be very uncomfortable sharing there. I used to just kind of sit by myself and not really volunteer. Don't tell my teacher that. But once I actually started sharing, and I think I felt the point where these so-called like abnormal people started remembering my name and remembering who I was and what I do there and why I was there. That was that moment where I just felt like, oh my gosh, I'm actually having an impact on people. Like I'm actually doing something that they remember, which isn't very common for them. So I think that this quote was probably the most important thing I had learned through my work there, mainly because when these group of people returns to society, they almost get pitied. They almost, a lot of people look down upon Alzheimer's and dementia because they get lost easy, or they don't remember their wife's name all the time. And I think that being in this environment every day, most of them come every day, really just shows them that there isn't that stigma and that there isn't that kind of environment that they're living in. They don't have that diagnosis or that label when they come there, so to speak. And you don't really notice when they're sick or when they forget something. So seeing that attitude also really impacted me, because I started to notice that, again, that kindness that they gave to me and started remembering me and asking about my life was something that I didn't really have that much of in my life. And so that started to change how I viewed the world around me, which was something so amazing, just because I felt that I had an impact on them, but they also had an impact on me. It was a two-way relationship. So some things that I specifically do there, I'm not gonna lie, just play games with them. Most of the time I'm leading the games, so I do have a little bit of a responsibility. But any time that we're, last summer I worked in a restaurant and I made root beer floats for everyone, which I regretted because I was covered in soda and ice cream, but they loved it, so that was nice. This is the only picture you will see of me doing any kind of dishes. I did it once, so I felt I needed to put that in there. But running exercise sometimes with them is something that I can do. But I think, again, the most important aspect that I can bring to this group of people, and I didn't realize it until I had that moment where I realized that I was impacting them, but the most important thing I brought to Be Our Guest was my energy. I'm obviously quite younger than most of them, so I have the ability to jump around and get excited in different ways than they do. I can be loud and make jokes with them and entertain them, even if I am just kind of like the comedian of the group. But it entertains them, and it kind of shows them that teenagers don't have that stigma that I mentioned. They don't have that belief that they're just cranky old people that forget things. It shows them that I actually began to care about them. I became way more comfortable with myself once I kept going there and kept sharing a little bit more. And now I tell them about my school day, I tell them about my work, I tell them about this event, I tell them everything. They're a great group to share things with. And so not only did that impact come on me, but even another volunteer had told me that coming to this program helps her as much as it helps the guests, because this is just another example of the feel good, do good effect, where once you are doing something good for other people, you start to feel better about yourself. So, and it works in reverse as well, where you're feeling good about yourself, you're gonna be more inclined to do something, and it's just this endless cycle. And all of this shows in pretty much anybody who comes to this program, anybody who just volunteers for maybe a couple weeks, it shows that you really see the impact that it has on that community of people and on the people who are volunteering themselves, or even the ones that work there. So this just shows that people begin to care about these guests, and they really just care about coming there and donating even an hour of their time, because it definitely changed my attitude about how I viewed the world and how I viewed that little things don't really matter. And basically the feel good, do good effect is something that I would encourage everybody to take part in. So it's not even on a larger scale of volunteering per se. That's something that, again, does take a bit of time to get comfortable with. But holding doors open for people and having good conversations is also extremely valuable to our community especially. And once you begin to feel more adventurous and more comfortable with yourself, you really have to go out there and make an impact, because that's what's going to last. And that's that.